Hi and welcome to another episode of Toby's Barbecue Corner. Today we're making the 7th installment of Great Dishes from Europe, a Szegedine Goulash. Now what you need for it and how to do it, I'm going to show you in this episode. Alright, and this is what we need for today. Now, before we get into what we need for today, just a little bit of history. So just in case you were wondering where the Szegedine Goulash came from, it actually does not come from the city of Szeged in Hungary, but was first mentioned by the poet Joseph Székely. And it actually comes from Vienna, Austria. At least that's what Wikipedia wants us to believe. Now, anybody who knows anything about goulashes knows that it's a staple diet for soldiers during various European conflicts over the course of the centuries. So I think that's why it's rather popular in Europe. Now let's get into what we need. So obviously we need pork, we need some sauerkraut, we need onions and quite a bit of them. We need some fat sour cream, we need some fat bacon, we need some white wine and water, we need a couple of red paprika, a couple of cloves of garlic, some tomato paste, some clarified butter, a couple of bay leaves, about half a bunch of parsley. You need some cayenne pepper, some paprika powder, you need some caraway seed powder, you need some marjoram, as well as salt and pepper. Now what I just forgot was obviously the side dish, and you can actually make it with potatoes, you can make it with pasta, but what I opted to do today is I'm going to make it with these lovely dumplings. As usual, in the first step we're going to start cutting up the vegetables. So we're going to start off with the onions and dicing them a little bit. Now they don't have to be too fine because obviously it's all going to cook down in the Dutch oven, but give them a bit of a, you know, a dicing, and then they'll be fine. Next, onto the paprika. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cut them up into little chunks. So let's remove the seeds first. Get that out of the way, and then, you know, just cut them up just like that. Now you can make them a bit smaller, like half them again. And then they'll be absolutely lovely. But again, as I said, it's all going to go into the Dutch oven, so it's going to cook down anyway, so you don't have to worry about cutting up any of the vegetables too fine, but that should do it. And then last but not least, let's take care of the garlic. Cut that up a little bit as well, and then we're good to go. Now all the cutting of the vegetables is done, so we're going to take care of the bacon. So now make sure that, you know, whatever cartilage or little bones are still inside you take out. So we're going to do that really quickly. And then you're just going to cut it into little chunks and then mix it in with the pork. Alright, just to talk about it, obviously if you do have the skin on these nice chunky pork pieces, you want to cut that off because it will not render down and it won't get crunchy, so there's really no point in keeping them. So just make sure that you cut it off. Try not to lose too much fat or meat depending on what it's attached to, and then just cut it in chunks. Now that we're done cutting, we're going to throw it in with the rest of the pork, and then we're going to make a dry rub to marinate the meat. And this can go back in the fridge now until we need it. And the next step, we're going to quickly take care of the dry rub for our meat. So what we're going to do is we're going to season the cayenne pepper, the paprika powder, salt, pepper, as well as the marjoram. And then we're going to season the meat with it. Now obviously all the ingredients, as usual, you'll find in the description below. And obviously I would appreciate a comment, a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. Right, all mixed up, so we're quickly going to add the dry rub to the meat, and then the meat's going to go back in the fridge to let that marinate a little bit. You know, make sure that you get it into all or onto all the surface, or as much surface as possible. Now if you need to make more dry rub because you used a larger quantity of meat, by all means go right ahead, but I think this amount will be just fine. The Dutch oven is nice and hot. We're going to add the clarified butter. And then we're going to let that melt. And obviously always make sure you use a wooden spoon as you don't want to basically hurt the patina inside the Dutch oven. And then it's already time for our pork. Now, depending on how much pork you make, do it in 2 or 3 steps, because you don't want to cool down the Dutch oven too much. But this is now nice and hot, so let's start off. Once we've gotten sufficient color on our pork, we're going to remove it, and we're going to do the second batch until we're done, and then we're going to take care of the vegetables. The meat has gotten some great color. I've already removed it, so now we're going to take care of the vegetables. So in with the garlic, the onions, and as you can tell, quite a few onions, hence I had to use 2 pots for it. We're going to give them a bit of a stir. And always make sure that the Dutch oven comes back up to temperature, because otherwise you're more like broiling rather than roasting things. So we're going to wait until the onions have gotten some good color, and then we're going to add the rest of the ingredients. About 5 minutes later, the onions are starting to look the way I would like them to look. So we're going to create a little pocket here, and we're going to throw in the tomato paste first, because we want to give that a little bit of a stir as well, and then mix it in with the onions. Time to mix in the tomato paste. And while we're at it, we're going to throw in paprika chunks as well, add some great color. Give that all a good stir and let that cook for a little while. About 5 minutes later, the Dutch oven is back up to temperature. Everything is nicely mixed. It has a great reddish kind of color. So we're now going to add the meat back into it. And obviously I've captured all those juices that came out of the fat from the bacon as well as the pork. So we're going to add that back in, and that will add even more flavor to this dish. So make sure you capture that, don't throw it away. Alright, so give it a bit of a stir, and then we're going to let that come up to temperature again. About 3 minutes later, everything is mixed. It's nicely bubbling away, so we're going to add the water. We're going to add the bay leaves, and what I like to do is I like to put it in this little sachet, because I really don't like to go hunting for it later on. So we're going to put that nicely in there, but it will you know, it will obviously disperse its flavors. And then we're going to add about 0.5 of a liter of white wine to this. Everything is nicely covered. We'll give it another stir. Make sure that the bay leaves are submerged. And now we're going to close that lid and leave it closed for about an hour and a half. Temperature wise in the barbecue, you want to set it at about 130 to 140 degrees Celsius. So we're going to slow down on the burners a little bit. Make sure that it cooks nice and slow. An hour and a half. Let's lift the lid. Oh wow, you guys, the smell is just absolutely amazing. Look at it bubbling away. Time to add the sauerkraut. Now I drained it before putting it in, and now we're going to let that cook for another half an hour until it's ready. Alright guys, another half an hour later, we're done. So we're going to lift the lid. Let's see what's happening. But look at that, doesn't that look absolutely delicious? So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the fat sour cream. We're gonna give it a good stir. And obviously we're gonna find those bay leaves somewhere in there and remove them. And we're going to add the caraway seed powder. There we go, there's the bay leaves. So we're going to remove them. And we're going to add the caraway seed powder. Because without it, it wouldn't be our Szegedine goulash. And then in the end, we're going to use our freshly chopped parsley, which I did in the meantime while the sauerkraut was still in. Oh, after I added the sauerkraut in, I have to say. But look at that, doesn't that look absolutely delicious? So we're gonna add some of that fresh parsley and we're gonna dig in now. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video about the Szegedine goulash. Now it was absolutely delicious, and as I said, it was the 7th installment of great dishes from Europe. So I hope I can continue in that fashion and show you some of the nicest things that Europe has to offer in terms of food. Now if you did enjoy the video, as I said before, I would appreciate a comment and a thumbs up, and please head over to that subscribe button for more great videos to come, and I hope to see you soon again at Toby's Barbecue Corner.